Welcome back to Brio, yo. How's it going, everyone?
I want to do a lot of stuff today. We gotta hurry. Spencer wants to start a new game too.
I actually can probably finish. It's very short.
Thank you, Hints-kun.
I saw some random Steam game. I'm probably gonna beat it for LPs and then refund it because it is literally an hour long, and it's also like $12. If it was like $3, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, it's rough. There's a new Metroidvania that just came out that I'm kind of interested in playing, but it's like $15. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. If it was something like Bloodstained, like I got way more than $15 worth of value out of that, but $12 for a game that I will probably beat in one sit down in 1 hour is like brutal. But the developer that makes it makes a lot of really weird crap, so gotta love that. Also, I'm not convinced in briefly looking up the game that like it's just all AI generated. I don't know.
is it recent? Like it just came out?
2023 or 4.
Okay. I could have sworn I saw something that was similar to it, but I don't think it was within the last year.
Okay. Well, you know how it is.
Even if I did, I don't remember anything.
Something comes out and then immediately like some other crappy company is like, let's just do that but worse. I saw a pretty interesting game idea. It was like poker with the devil or whatever. I guess it became a really popular one.
Balatro.
It sounds right.
It almost won. I mean, it was in the contention of the Game of the Year.
Oh,
last
wow.
year.
Okay. It looked... What a great idea, you know? Very cool.
Whoa, what the crap?
You barely used it.
You, like, touched me once. Does that take an E-tank? No, it doesn't. That's interesting. That's never happened before.
Hello, speedrunner.
I'm too good. I was trying to save a little tiny bit of time by not killing the one space pirate, but of course he does some weird thing I've never seen before.
That's the classic speedrunner sentence.
Yep.
Whenever they're at a live event. That's never happened before. That's the craziest part when they have like 5,000 runs and it's like, that's never happened before. It's like, oh, holy crap.
Honestly, what probably happens is that, you know, they have their own speedrunner dog.
They do? Well, it's just like,
And they're nervous, and they drop their spaghetti, spill their spaghetti.
Yep. It's just like that's why I will always love live sports. Like, shows and movies and stuff, like, can be amazing. But there's something about live sports, and having an event where someone could just completely spill their spaghetti is just amazing. And unlike like a concert or like a live musical or whatever, where there's no one actively going against that person, in sports you have like one side that's like, hey, we practiced this hundreds of hours, and the other side's like, yeah, well, we also practice to stop you hundreds of hours. It's great. I think now that I'm talking it out loud, I think the only thing that's really analogous would be like going to a comedy club and having like a heckler. You know, like, you go to a comedy club and everyone's laughing, it's like, okay, but then you have some guys like, oh, you suck. And it's like, that's where you really see how funny that comedian is, by how he's able to come back from that.
In, like, suboptimal conditions.
Yeah, right. You know, it happens to everyone, and, you know, someone like Jerry Seinfeld would, you know, be like, all right, we got a wise guy here, and kind of go off of it. I wonder what Michael Richards would do if there was a heckler.
Who dat?
Kramer from Seinfeld.
Oh, okay.
Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't know his actual name.
No,
Off
yeah.
the top of my head.
Kramer. They did on Curb Your Enthusiasm, they did a spoof on that, because it was like 5 years later, you know, and he was like obviously very sorry about what he said and everything. So Larry's best friend is a black guy, and it was very funny how they set it up. Curb was a good show.
It was a good show. I think we talked about it before, but Curb is like, It's either the funniest show in the world to me or just the most painful thing to sit through. Because they go for that cringe humor.
Right.
Like,
right.
not like cringe as a derogatory term, just like putting Larry David in like the worst, most horrible situations.
So, and it's also ones where you're like, yeah, he kind of got himself in those situations too.
Sometimes, like, most of the time it's his own fault. But it's still, like, painful to sit through sometimes.
One of the newer seasons, he starts wearing a one of those red Trump hats, and he lives in, like, L.A., which is obviously really, really liberal. And the only reason he wears it, he doesn't, like, he hates him, but the only reason he wears it is so people leave him alone. And, like, he goes to restaurants, and people will be like, hey, Larry! And he'll put on the hat, and he'll be like, yeah, what's up? And they'll just walk away. And he's like, this is so... I'm like, wow, that is... If you're at the point where you have, like, FU money, where, like, you're like, I don't care. Like, I don't care, I don't need a job, I don't need anything. That would be, like, an amazing thing to do. It'd be like, hey, Bob, how are you? How's the wife? Put on the hat. Oh, we have to go. It's like, oh, really? Do you have to go? Okay.
So based.
So based. What a great idea. But I hope so today it's like late February, and it was pretty warm today. It was probably like, I don't know, high 40s or whatever. I actually turned the heat off, at least for now. We'll see how the evening, it's like 8 p.m., but we'll see how the night goes. But
feels pretty good.
Pretty good, all things considered. We are going to get, I mean, it is going to happen that we are going to get another snow in, like, March. That it just happens every single year. People, March 1st rolls around and they're like, winter's over, cool. And it's like, no, March can be very cold. Around here, at least. And there's always a pretty big March snowfall that, like, goes away immediately. Like, it'll snow, like, 9 inches. And it's almost to the point where you're like, do I even shovel this? Because, like, in 2 or 3 days, it'll just be completely gone.
Man, turn on, there's 2 settings for lock-on in this game. One where it's like the GameCube games where it locks on automatically, and the one that's like default where it lets you free aim. But when you're facing these guys that fly over the place, this is so nice. When I was practicing this yesterday, it was like just like the worst thing ever. I was like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Then I turned on the setting, I was like, oh, it's super easy now. Because they will, if you let them like survive for even like 10 seconds, they'll go and redo those locks.
Okay. Yeah, having only played the Metroid Prime 1, I thought it was like almost like Z targeting in Zelda, but it's like L targeting or whatever.
It's really good in this game sometimes, like for the flying guys, but especially because they want to have the enemies designed around lay waggle. Sometimes it is actually really bad and annoying to have it on. So that's why it's default.
I said it before, I'll say it again. Pretty underrated system.
It's just too bad. It's just a system that's really cool that's just like ruined by its library. It's like 98% shovelware, and Nintendo didn't like trust their own system. Like they were full like Wii mode for like the first little bit. Obviously, like, Wii Sports is one of the best pack-in titles ever made. But, like, after, like, 2008, they were like, okay, let's just make new Super Mario Brothers. And, like, really, really safe, simple games. Because that was, like, selling. Obviously, it financially worked out in the end for them. But, it just makes the Wii, like, a weird system where it's, like, the most unconventional, most forward-thinking console. But then the last half, like the second half of the library, is really safe, and the library is really boring. And then obviously, all the serious third-party support died out, and it's just a billion shovelware titles.
I do love there's probably only like maybe 2 dozen, if less, like really obscure, odd, non-shovelware games like Ju-On the Grudge. I mean, that game is absolutely awful. It's called, like, Haunted House Simulator, and it literally is. It's like you walk through a haunted house where things spook you. Or, like, Cursed Mountain, or, I forget what that game with the little girl on the front cover, like, Fragile or something like that.
Calling?
Calling, thank you, Calling. Just stuff like that is very cool. Stuff that would really only ever exist on the Wii. Or everyone's favorite game that was originally designed for the Wii, Silent Hill Shattered Memories.
Yeah, everyone's favorite game.
I like that game.
it's okay.
I like it.
It is not the worst thing ever. It's better than Homecoming for sure. It's better than maybe Downpour. I want Spencer to replay Downpour.
It's better than Book of Memories.
Yeah. That's the low point of the series.
I might... Oh, man. No, I guess I wouldn't pick it over Origins. Yeah, I don't know. Shattered Memories is comfy. Like, the fact that you can just walk around and not have to constantly worry about a million enemies is nice and comfy. I think it is. I almost wish Silent Hill 2 Remake would have given me actual time to be comfy once in a while.
It's too fragmented for me. It's like that duality of, like, there's nothing that's going to happen. It's sort of the opposite problem that Silent Hill 2 Remake has, where Silent Hill 2 Remake is, like, endless combat slop. You can never enjoy the environments because there's just a million enemies. But Silent Hill 2 Shattered Memories, it makes it feel like the environments barely matter because there's barely any problem solving. There's some puzzles, but there's barely like items that you have to pick up for it. So it feels like the exploratory elements are just like, there's nothing to see. IMO.
I get that. There's also, people don't talk about it, but there's also like,
and then the
not
combat,
a ton of branching paths, but there definitely is branching paths you can do.
And then the not even combat, but the runaway sections are just like tedious and awful.
I would almost take the game without the running away parts.
It'd just be nothing. It'd be a literal walking simulator. Okay.
I like walking simulators if they have good stories and stuff.
I guess so.
I like them.
Spencer's favorite game is Gone Home.
I've actually never played that. It was one of those where I had to be contrarian. Every single person was like, this is the magnum opus of the video game world, and I was like, I'm good. So I never played it.
Everything that you like about what you were just talking about, you like Gone Home, for sure. Well, maybe not the subject, like the actual story. That being like,
but the thing is, the story has to be good in that situation. for a game like that,
okay.
I'm just saying. Or something that I'm interested in, whether it's good or not.
So we're getting to the part where I think Prime 3 has... The worst thing about Prime 3 is just how much back and forth there is. So we already did this section. To explain what's going on, we had to go through this first area to meet the hunter to get the ice missiles. But if you go further, there's an anti-gun battery that you have to blow up with your ship missiles. But you don't have the ship missiles. So you have to go to another part of the area that's locked with the ice missiles, so you have to come here first. And then you go to the other area, you unlock it with the ice missiles, and then you get your ship missiles, which means they have to backtrack that area the entire way, and then come back here and do almost everything all over again.
Wow.
And this game's not super long, and it's not arduous, but it's just it's really inelegant padding for a game that I think would be completely fine. This is one of the longest Metroid games already. And I just don't think they needed to do it at all. And especially when we get to Skytown, we're definitely going to get to that this sit down. Skytown is only one big area. There's not 3 separate zones that you have to fly your ship to, but because of that, there's even more back and forth. I'll point it out when we get to it, but it's unfortunate because I think this game is really good, but I said the bold words of, I think this game has the worst map design of any Metroid, other than, obviously, Metroid 1, and probably Metroid 2. But I kind of want to stick by what I said there. It's a little harsh, but I think it's true.
I specifically remember all these spots that you've been in, and it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, and they have...
You haven't phad this game... It's not like you've been playing for 10 hours or whatever.
And it's been a week since we played this, so...
That part where you had to let... Where you had to let the enemies, climb on you and as you were Morph Ball, I specifically remember that. Yeah. And it's only been an hour of gameplay since you did that. So that's kind of lame.
Oh no! The enemies hit me the last second, so I have to do that all again. That was awesome. Just because I wanted to save 5 seconds.
It's Joker. So speaking of Gone Home, this isn't a revolutionary concept, but man, over the past like 5 or 10 years, like
still shooting.
The inability for like writers to write characters and not like self-insert themselves is like crazy to me.
I want to say that a lot of stories probably have more self-inserting than you realize, but the problem is that everyone leads really, really boring lives with like the most mundane first world problems, that it makes the story seem a lot worse because everyone has just really, really boring lives now.
And I was thinking about it, and like, okay, Legend of Zelda was created because Miyamoto, as a kid, liked to explore, I don't know if it was caves necessarily, but like explore his backyard and like find stuff and whatever. And, okay, so that is based off of his personal experience, but Miyamoto's not like, I am Link. You know what I mean? Or like, he didn't put in Link to look exactly like him. And I think that's where there's a big difference than how things were in the past. Like, it is very difficult to write about things you don't know at all about. I mean, that's silly, right? Like, I wouldn't write a war story. I know nothing about war. Kurt Vonnegut, the author, he was in World War II, and a lot of his stories were about World War II privates and stuff like that, and like, what was happening during that time period. He lived it. But he also didn't like put himself in it as the character. They might have had like some similar stuff to him, but it wasn't like he looks just like me, he acts just like I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but it's very frustrating to me.
It's definitely true. Right.
Like, there's this new, I saw this trailer there's this new Adult Swim show called Oh My God, Yes. And it's this cartoon that just looks like it was like Cal Arts created, like Steven Universe or whatever. Like all cartoons look like that nowadays. And the 3 main characters, you just know that the 3 main characters are like the writers, like self-insert, perfect to a T. Like, they all have like purple and blue hair, and like it's way too specific as a setup for it not to be just based off them or just being exactly them. And I'm just like, it's all so tiring. Like, George R.R. Martin, wrote Game of Thrones, and he didn't live in a medieval, time period, and it's like, you can do your research and write. Maybe some of the characters might be based off of him or people knows, but it's not like, here's my self-insert.
I don't think there's any characters based off of him, but he definitely wrote his fetishes in there.
I mean, he definitely did that. That is for sure. That is for sure. I don't know. It's just, it's frustrating for me because it's like, just write a character to be a good character. Don't be like, oh, this, I think the best example is probably that Saints Row, 2022, where all the characters are like millennials that are like, and their whole character arc is capitalism. Am I right?
We gotta pay our rent.
I
think that was mostly pure desperation. I mean, there's definitely people in there that are like, living in the city sucks, rent's high. But I think that was pure desperation to be like, we have to the pander to some demographic. Let's just pander to Zoomers, I guess. Or
well, it would probably be millennials. Zoomers aren't really like that. Zoomers don't really care about anything. It's unless you give them brain rot, they're not figuring it out.
Zoomers a lot older than. Do you think all Zoomers are like 12? Aren't like Zoomers like the oldest ones like in their 20s now?
I guess you're right. I guess that's what Gen Alpha that's like coming into teenagehood or whatever. Yeah, I guess
I know everyone calls like young kids Zoomers, but I'm pretty sure like Zoomers are like 13 to like 20 something now.
No, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I guess that is true. We want the Reddit Zoomer audience. That's what I say. That's what I say for this channel. We want the Zoomers. That's why we talk so highly about everyone. Dude, coming through here again, man.
Yeah, especially when these areas are already small and pigeonholed, and then they make you go through it again. I could have taken there was a shortcut to the left that kind of takes me to the beginning, but we have to come back here again, spoilers, later,
Man.
when we need to get the screw attack. And I'm just going to open up, there's something over here that I'm going to open up for later.
I do like the level design that you're doing right now, where you can create your own like tiles in lava. I really always like that.
Yeah, once again, to explain why, like Dread, I said, has really bad map design, but really good level design, and I think it's the exact same in this game, where I think the level design's great, like the actual things you do in the level's great, but the fact that it makes you go back and forth and to and fro and backtrack the entire planets again, pretty lame. Very lame. Oh, yeah. I could have done this on my first trip to have that to go up, but it's like either you have to backtrack the first time or you backtrack the second time. It's like you can't really win. Also, at this point, there is 255 missiles, but like you really only need like 50 for the rest of the game. So we're getting the missile tanks out of the way. Like if you take this little shortcut, it spits you out here, and then you're right next to your ship. But that's what I did the first time.
I also like that Samus doesn't take fall damage, at least not as far as I can tell.
Yeah. If you drop a long way, she does like a little like... She pretends to get hurt, she makes a noise, but she actually doesn't get hurt.
That's... I think the only games that should have fall damage are like really realistic games, like Prince of Persia, you know? And especially platformers that are based off of that, but like games like this that have fall damage are like, oh god. Just such a meaningless extra usually. Like Mario never takes fall damage, I don't think.
Mario 64, he definitely does.
He does, okay.
I'm not sure about I'm assuming Sunshine he does too. I'm not sure if you're ever in like a situation where you can take fall damage in Galaxy. He definitely doesn't in Odyssey. I don't know about Galaxy. I just don't remember.
Yeah, that probably not, just because it's made of a million little tiny planets.
And obviously, Donkey Kong 1994, you can die to falling.
Yes,
but that's sort of the gimmick of that game.
That might be the most underrated like game of all time. Is Donkey Kong Game Boy 1994. I say that because people are like, oh, it's Donkey Kong, and they kind of like troll you by, you start out by doing the first 4 Donkey Kong levels, and then there's just like a million good levels after that.
Yeah, I think I've said it before when we were recording, but it was probably a long time ago. I think Donkey Kong 1994 is the perfect Nintendo game of them like taking a idea and just like expanding upon it, just miraculously. Yeah. Just they pull the rug under you, and it's like, oh, it's just the basic game. That's all you're gonna get. It's a Game Boy game. Who cares? And then once you beat it, it's like, oh my god, there's like an entire game, and it just keeps going and going, and they add so many features and more moveset for Mario.
Right.
And
yeah, he does like the backflips and stuff.
He has the side. That's the first game with like the side flip. Like a lot of the moveset of Mario 64 came from Donkey Kong 1994. And yeah, Donkey Kong 1994 is definitely not my favorite Nintendo game, but I think it's their perfect Nintendo game.
People don't talk about it much because, you know, your average like really casual person that's like, I like Pac-Man, I like Frogger, I like Mario, isn't like, oh my god, because like if you look at like some of the other similar games from the Game Boy, like Frogger is just Frogger, Pac-Man is just Pac-Man, whereas Donkey Kong you would be like, oh, it's just Donkey Kong from the arcade or whatever. It's like, no, it is ridiculously more so.
Ugh, piece of garbage. I hate this boss.
I like the little laugh.
all you have to do is just break his 4 balls. There's one as his back. But, like, the fact that it opens and closes all the time and he switches where the balls are... This boss is just annoying.
Maganar.
And honestly, I would say that this is this is probably the hardest boss in the game for how many energy tanks you have versus like what's your arsenal. Like you don't have like the plasma or the Nova beam yet.
Pretty cool looking too.
Okay. That's ideally what I want to do. Like immediately blitz it, but it's not like super easy. Oh, I want the boost ball so bad.
Also, speaking of kind of like Donkey Kong 1994, I really like the, especially Nintendo, games where characters are put into situations they wouldn't normally end. Like, I was just reminded how much I like Kirby Block Ball, which is essentially just like Breakout, but with Kirby as the circle, and I'm like, what a weird, odd game that they would be like, Kirby, but he's the ball from Arkanoid / Breakout, and it's like, make it a Game Boy game, put it out there. Something so cool about that.
Oh, it's so close to breaking. Please give it to me. No! No! Oh, it's so annoying. Nice. Cool. Alright, so I got the most annoying one. Just this one left. Oh, yeah. Hey! Stop that.
He said nope.
Oh.
Yeah, now it's like the toughest one to...
I'm just glad I got the back one. He can't switch the positions of the balls anymore when there's only one.
Maganar.
Nice, cool. That was not nearly as bad as it could be.
I wonder what like the speedrun strategy with that would be. Get lucky.
Man, I don't know. The corruption deepens.
Samus, no.
Oh, dude, when you make a thumbnail for this part, you have to make it this. The thing that Samus is about to do. Ugh,
Oh my god.
Literally vomiting pure phase on. You have to make that the thumbnail.
I shall remember seeing her face for a second.
Yeah, and you can see that you don't get a new suit in this game, so in that way it's kind of lame, but it does visually look different. Like, she just looks way more screwed up. This is 25% corruption, you go up to 75, and when you're at 75, it looks pretty brutal. Going Super Saiyan. So we always get a new hyper thing per boss. In my opinion, this is the lamest one that I barely ever use. It's the first one, so it makes sense. But...
What the?
You just become like an electro ball. But like, when you use it against actual enemies, it like barely takes any damage, and you just waste like an E-tank in like a second.
What is going on here?
Some sort of like it's the Phazon Leviathan. Like this is the thing that lands on the planet to spread the Phazon, and I guess it just becomes like a big, ugly bug. It's also fortunate that a Phazon being is weak to Phazon itself. I guess it just gets overloaded.
Oh. Press A to Phazon.
Yeah, literally. I don't even know why they bother to switch you to first person, because it's not like an actual fight, you just press A. Yeah, thinking about
So
it,
cool.
This game is a little bit anemic in terms of like the Metroid Prime games. There's no new suits. There's no power bombs. You only get permanent upgrade beams, which is cool, but there's no like ones that you can switch on command. You only get one new visor. You don't get the spider ball until the game's almost over, which is weird.
If you're going for 100%, can you go back to that planet?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to, because one weird thing about this game is that you get the screw attack like really early, relatively, because the screw attack is always about like flying over the entire level, but you get it at like the 50% mark, and it's on that planet. We just can't get it because we don't have the plasma beam.
So many words.
Yeah. Gore.
Gore rules.
It's cool that you can even see like the corruption on our legs.
That's cool.
When you look down.
I will never beat Beavis and Butthead for Sega Genesis. Ever. I want it so bad. It's just too difficult. Even following like optimal paths, it's just too difficult.
Yeah, that game is just so... And it's crazy because the Super Nintendo version is like really easy. Relatively. For,
Right.
You know, the Super Nintendo game. Compared to the Genesis version, it's a million times easier.
Yeah, it's a pretty average platform where you're like, okay. But even if you